So we're going to solve Chatter, which was rated as hard, 5 solves. That's pretty normal for a hard challenge in one of the CTFs. And it talks about a desktop app for chatting, and it gives you some advice on how to configure the app. But yeah, if you download this, you will end up with a Electron app.
Mhm.
Let's see. Yeah, so I can run that app by doing a Chatter app image. Actually, let me start the server, and while it starts, we can actually look into the code of the chat image. If you do chat image app image extract, you're able to extract the actual code. Let's see. Yeah, we can see here there's now a folder called squash fs root. That's a file system that app image uses to store the things.
Can
So if we,
you put the letter bigger?
yes, I can, and I can make this a bit wider. That should hopefully help. So changing into that directory. It's been a long time since I've done this, like since August. So bear with me a second while I figure it out. Uh, so yeah, this is the content of the app, and I'm pretty sure inside app. Oh, that's an executable. Resources. It might be resources. Yeah, this app asar thing. I have it on my bash history. Yeah, this. So looks like I'm in the wrong directory to do that.
Can you
Cool.
can you make the letter a little bit bigger, even more? Cool.
Let me make it this extra big. Cool. So hopefully this is now something that we can see. Again, looking for app.asr. Yeah. So this is the command we want. It's using an npm package called asr, and it's basically extracting how Electron packages the app.
Mhm.
Hopefully that worked. And now we do have, where does it put it? Assets, I think, is new. It put it in that directory. What a fail. So it's all mixed up, but yeah, it is here. Maybe if I put it as a list, is more viewable. So we have a main.js,
Mhm.
index.html, manifest, node modules, all that kind of thing that you would expect from a Electron app. And I'm pretty sure the interesting part would be main.js. Let's cut it out. So it's a pretty standard React app. The interesting things that we could see here is that this doesn't use a sandbox. Where do I see this?
I saw it at the beginning. I saw it at the beginning.
Am I blind?
Yeah, in web
Oh yeah,
preferences.
sandbox false here. So this sandbox thing means that when Electron runs their applications inside like Chrome, essentially, it's a version of Chromium. And when it does that, it's able to do like the JavaScript inside Node. The JavaScript inside the Electron application is not Node.js, it's just basic JavaScript that you can run in a browser.
Mhm.
In this case, since we have Node integration to true and sandbox to false, it's possible to run Node.js commands from within the browser. So essentially, having an XSS in this Node application, in this Electron application, will give you the ability to execute code within Node, not only in the browser. So it's not just an XSS, it's actually an RC, which
Yep.
is a lot more interesting. Another thing you can do within this file is enable the developer tools, which, yeah, right here, it's commented out. If you were to get rid of these comments, repackage the app and run it, you will have developer tools. In my case, I'm pretty sure the version that I have here already has developer tools. So let's just start that. Just by doing this, and here we have the app. It says here that this input is not part of the challenge. This is just to help people not get into that rabbit hole. And in the description, it says that we need to put the URL of the challenge without the trailing /. So I'm just going to copy this link and paste it here. Get rid of the trailing /. Then we can create an account. And yeah, hopefully we get a response from the server, the one that we started here. So this is using WebSockets. This version doesn't have developer tools enabled. We would see them here. They're regular, like if you were in your Chrome browser. We don't really need them. If we send the message, we can see it here. We have a cool avatar. And if we send flag, which is what every City of Perry does as soon as they get into a channel for some reason. We even have memes for that in our Discord. It says that there's no flag here, only the admin has the flag, and to be careful because the admin is always watching. So if you look into the code, let me open the code in Visual Studio Code because it's going to be way easier. Oh, I'm stupid. Okay, so this is the page that gets loaded into the Electron app once it starts. This can be seen if you unpack the application. So this was part of the challenge. Like this challenge is really like almost white box. The only part that you don't have access to see is the server, which you don't need at all. And this is the interesting part, how the different kinds of messages get handled when you get a message in that socket.io thing. So if it's a response, it will check if the type is control, which is just used to like the first connection and disconnection. Then we have type URL, which is interesting. We haven't seen this used yet. And then there's the regular message that is just text. In that case, it just displays the text. But in the case of it being a URL, it will go ahead and create a different thing. So let's actually test it out in the app. If we were to, I don't know if any, let's try Google. I don't know if Google will work. Apparently it will. For some reason, this is what I got. But yeah, it will look at the metadata tags of that site, and it will try to, like, this is all server code. This is not known by the user, but I can showcase it. When we do a send message here, it does a regex to find URLs. And if you find a URL, it uses a tool called Metatron, which essentially goes through the OG tags, which are used for metadata, looks for the description, title, and a URL and image, and it sends them to the application through that message in the WebSocket with type URL. They then get displayed like this. So if you look into the code in the HTML here, you will see this is just concatenating strings, and then this all gets loaded into a message. So this is clearly XSS. If we are to create a website that has these tags and one of them contains an XSS, it would be like appending here a script tag. In my solve HTML, we can see that. I just have a piece of code here, and the title, no, sorry, the description has the content of a reverse shell written in for Node.js. Maybe I'm gonna just do this so it's easier to see. Not that much easier, but a little more. It's basically just invoking bash and getting a reverse shell to this attacker port and attacker IP. I'm pretty sure I already have the script in my VPS. So let's go to my VPS here. If I go to my dot, yeah, these are all the solutions for a ton of my CTFs. If I cut solve, what? Oh, I didn't move. I just listed. Cool. So yeah, this is essentially the same thing that we just saw, but we're specifying that it's going to be listening in to like the reverse shell is coming to this machine. So I'm going to create another one of this. Cool. Now I can create my listener here. Let me make this bigger and do a clear. So I'm going to listen in port 8888, and I'm going to serve this entire directory probably using up on port 777. Cool. So now if we visit my VPC on port 777, we're able to get all of these different things that I have here, which include that soft thing. If I add a link in here,
I guess you miss one slash at the beginning.
yes, thanks for that. Cool. That should be right. Yes. So that did bring this image, and in here we got a shell. Uh,
Awesome.
uh, so we did get a shell, but as you can see, this is not the name of the container. We got a shell from this, from my actual machine. You see, so there's an admin
Oh yeah, yeah,
running
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
there is an admin running the application in a container in the backend, which is also really interesting for this challenge. That took me a lot of time to figure out how to run an Electron app inside a Docker container in Kubernetes. It is possible. So yeah, this shell that we got is for my current machine, not the server. So I'm just gonna exit that one, set up my listener again, and normally if I had my developer tools, I would just add a breakpoint. And then once I run this again, my application would hit the endpoint,
Yeah.
the breakpoint, and the admin's one wouldn't. So I would get the admin's session first. So let's actually go ahead and modify one of my apps. So in here, let's go to my app, into main.js, and we should be able to see this and comment this line, save it. And now instead of starting the application from the app image, I'm just going to start it from the actual code just by doing a yarn start. What? I need to install. Hopefully this doesn't take long. This is an issue that a lot of players were hitting during this TF, and none of them could figure out how to actually stop the shell from, like, their own shell from stopping the server's shell.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a shell. I have the app here running, and we can see now that we have the developer tools. So if I paste this again and log in as test, cool. We're in the same place. Now in the source, you can see it's already set up here. I have a breakpoint if the type is URL. So if I was to write test, nothing should hit that. But if I was to do again my HTTP // congonator, cool. We hit the endpoint, the breakpoint here. But if we go back to the listener, we have a shell, and now it does look like a container. So I'm pretty sure the flag is is it in the current directory? Yeah. So we can cut the flag right away. And that's that challenge.
Man, I tell you that it is awesome that you created an Electron challenge. It is awesome.
The first time I saw that there was a vulnerability in Microsoft Teams. I'm sure if we write RC Microsoft Teams is the first thing to come up. Microsoft Teams. Yeah, and the vulnerability was pretty much in the same place. It was like if you included an attachment in a message, you could get an XSS. And for some reason, Teams was not running with the sandbox and was with node integrations enabled. So it was pretty trivial to get all the way in. Then they fixed that, and someone else found another way to get an XSS. But since it was a bit of the same thing, like they had enabled the node integrations to false, and the sandbox was now on, so they actually had to find a Chrome V8 vulnerability. They were not patched to the fullest in the app release, so they were running a vulnerable version of Chrome, and they found a way to exploit that through the XSS and get RC in Teams just by sending someone a malicious attachment, which is crazy.
It is, man. It actually is. There was a talk about exploiting Electron applications in Black Hat this year. The link is already the video is already in YouTube. I definitely recommend it. It's awesome. They go through all the potential exploitations of Electron apps. They even mention that the one that you said. Actually, I don't know if one of the guys that found that vulnerability and exploited through the vulnerable Chromium version is the guy that exposed this talk. But also, if you don't have time to watch the talk, everything is summarized in Hacktricks. So just search for how was it? XSS to RC in Electron or
In
something
Electron.
something like that is called the page in Hacktricks. Man, but it is awesome. I think it's the first time I see an electronic application in a CTF, and you even create this admin guy to make it vulnerable. Just one last question, man. So you are giving players an Electron application they are going to be running, which is vulnerable to RCE with a bot you programmed that could exploit that vulnerability. How many people you think that solve this challenge from their host, and how many people solve this challenge or just run the application from a virtual machine just in case?
Uh, to even add more to that thought, if I go back to the code that we extracted from the application, I forgot to get rid of this file, render.js. This is a file I was including into my index.html during my testing. So this file doesn't ever get called in the application that I gave people. But look at the contents of it. It it exploits an RCE to my server. I got some DMs concerned about this. I I completely forgot about this file, and I just shipped this application to thousands of people, and it contains a payload to exploit them and send a shell to my PPS, which is really sketchy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It never got executed.
No, it actually didn't. I wasn't even listening. People were telling me like, I'm trying to hit your endpoint like this, and I see nothing. And I said, well, you should be thankful for that. The other thing you would see would be shells. So yeah, it was a fun moment when I realized it. I was like, oh, I fucked up really big. And then it wasn't that bad because I realized that it never got called. But to be fair, there was over 3,000 players. Only three people were actually concerned enough to DM me on Discord and tell me, dude, is this normal? Is this intended? This is actually a very big hint to solve the challenge. So I
Yeah.
was a bit bummed that I left it there, but apparently people didn't give that much importance to it.
Yeah, actually you are almost giving the exploit in this file, and only 4 or 5 people solve this challenge.
Yeah, the thing is the part where you figure out that the vulnerable thing is in the URL. When you send a URL, that's not so easy to see. Like you need to really dive deep into this other file to find that, and then exploitation of it is somewhat easy. Some people were having trouble with the syntax here to get a shell for some reason. It's not that complex.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like it looks pretty standard. But there were some people that didn't realize they could do node commands. They thought they just had an XSS and they were trying to exfiltrate the administrator's cookie and things like that.
People should read more hack tricks. Awesome, man. Awesome, awesome. It's amazing. You have created like CI/CD challenges, this Electron thing. Like these are the type of CTF that I think you wouldn't find in a lot of places, just because it is too difficult and it involves a lot of code and infrastructure to create them. So
Yeah, I'm trying to force myself to learn new things through making these challenges. If I was always doing web